It's Dragon Week across the tabletop space, and I want to introduce you to Jalanvaloss, the Wyrm of Many Spells. Before we jump right in, a thanks to Jenny D and Pointy Hat for promoting and encouraging these types of videos every year. Now let's get to the video. Unique from the get-go, Jalanvaloss is a steel dragon, a type of dragon not native to Faerûn. They're actually from Earth, which is the Greyhawk setting. She prefers to appear as a human than her true dragon form. She's a tall, slim lady with long dark hair and steel grey eyes. Going by the title of Lady Jalanvaloss, most are not aware of her true identity, thinking of her as a wealthy head of a small mercantile empire, but let's look at how she came to be so enigmatic and secretly one of the most powerful beings on the Sword Coast. First, let us answer the question, what is a steel dragon doing in Faerûn when they aren't from there in the first place? Well, to answer that, we must look to her former master, the Archmage Rithless of Am. It's rumoured that Rithless raised Jalanvaloss from an egg. While traversing the plains as an Archmage, as he is wont to do, he possibly stumbled across an unguarded nest and snatched her from her clutch on Earth and took her. Returning to Toril and Faerûn, he raised her as his steed and protector. He imbued her with the power to cast beyond her ability. She naturally became very good at this and taking to magic with ease. However, Rithless made sure to be the only source of magical knowledge, so basically he could restrict her ability. This meant that she was strong enough to take on numerous powerful enemies alone, but not strong enough to ever surpass him. Rithless's augmentations, though he thought temporary, turned out to be permanent and worked across all her forms that she could shapeshift into. As such, mechanically speaking, though Jalanvaloss is likely a challenge rating 16, she can cast spells more akin to CR 20 or higher, making her very dangerous indeed. We don't know, sadly, Rithless's fate, though we do know that he perished sometime around 1262 DR. His lands, artifacts, and enemies were then of course inherited by our dear Jalanvaloss. Bored of defending Rithless's keep from opportunistic wizards and adventurers and the Rosnars, who we'll mention more about later on, Jalanvaloss travelled north where she would join alongside caravans, adventurers and merchants, gleaning what they knew of the world and of their trade until she finally settled in Waterdeep, the City of Splendors. I want to briefly mention her dragon form here, as even the great Elminster described her as the most cat-like of all dragons. Her body is long and sleek, not a great hulking build like most dragons. Her scales were sleek and flat to her body, unlike that of a normal metallic dragon, with their large mohawk-like spines. The spines of her face looked like whiskers, and almost as though she had long, straight hair. She moved as deftly as any alley cat, and her silver eyes held a depth like no other. Elminster said of all the things he noticed most, it's that her scales flashed with an almost iridescent blue sheen when she was about to shape into human form. One would think her title, the Wyrm of Many Spells, is no doubt related to her spellcasting augmentation that Rithless performed, but it's actually not. While attending a noble party at the Brosfeather family villa, as Lady Jalanvaloss, of course, she bumped into none other than Kelvin Arnson, the Archmage of Blackstaff Academy. Not a chance meeting, of course. Kelvin, wary of possibly having a strange dragon in Waterdeep, he knew that she would be attending and thought it best to confront her there, to kind of catch her unawares. Kelvin cast a Wormbane spell at her, an incredibly powerful spell that would drive most dragons from the city. Of course, not one to go quietly, she struck Kelvin with a volley of spells, in return catching him on completely off guard, changing into her dragon form, causing absolute chaos among the guests, and as she did so, she tried to slip away. Kelvin, trying to keep the damage and civilian injury as minimal as possible, fired back with magics meant to disarm and restrain, but unfortunately to no avail. Infuriated even more by this, and by her resilience, Kelvin cast a Binding Chain of Fire. This is a spell that's meant to bind a creature to a point and inflict massive wounds with flaming tendrils from that point. It struck true, but only to dissipate the illusory image that Jalanvaloss had cast. A great deception to pull on the Blackstaff Academy's highest ranking mage while she slipped away into the night. By the next noon, Waterdeep's papers had written in bold on the front page, the Wyrm of Many Spells, the mysterious dragon who fought the mighty Blackstaff to a standstill. As a little final thorn in his side, Jalanvaloss appeared in dragon form 3 nights later and blasted the Blackstaff Tower with all manner of spells and magics. This caused an uproar and sounding alarms and panicking the guard. By the time the Archmage actually could respond, he found that the tower was completely untouched, even without wards or barriers. It was just a superficial, fantastic show of force in the face of the city. Jalanvaloss is a schemer and an actor. Scheming is her strongest trait. I like to think of her as a wealthy fantasy dragon version of Hannibal from the A-Team.
How did you get that in here?
Time, Lynch. Give me a minute, I'm good. If I've got an hour, I'm great. You give me 6 months, I'm unbeatable.
She's a master manipulator, currying favour with anyone from wealthy nobles to upstart adventurers to dockside workers, between brokering trade deals or backing expeditions. She aims to have a hand in any promising opportunities. Steel dragons have a way of vaulting memories just of their past lives, and though Jalanvaloss doesn't act as a normal steel dragon would, I believe she's actually honed this ability to give her a near eidetic memory. She picks up on the smallest details and doesn't forget them. Couple this with her acting ability, or her deceptive ability, she's the power to recall which persona, for which person, for which deal, for which scheme she wants to carry out. All of this to achieve her ultimate goal. In the future, she wishes to become a dragon queen of a human and elf empire which she will form in the western high forests of Faerûn, an empire where cultured people will prosper and live without fear, protected by her and her select bands of warriors. Of course, this goal is a ways off, more a retirement plan for when she grows bored of Waterdeep, which, from her escapades and the new and interesting people to encounter in Waterdeep, that's not going to be anytime soon. Most dragons have a lair filled with a massive hoard many mortals can't behold. They're often treacherous, well guarded, and extremely remote. Jalanvaloss's lair, well, it kind of is her hoard. She has a vast property portfolio from the several shops that she owns in the Southern Ward, also the Trades Ward, and the Dock Ward, the attached apartments above them, which she rents to locals and workers alike. Then there's the dockside warehouses, inns and residences in the Sea Ward and the North Ward. She's not lacking in possible letting opportunities that she can also double as a place for her to lay low. It's known that she has 2 secret caches in Waterdeep. One's a spell-guarded tomb in the City of the Dead, where she keeps spare clothes, makeup, some fancy or unfancy accessories, depending on the type of persona she wants to portray at that time, and a secret sewer cache somewhere under the city, which is believed to hold her most prized possessions and artifacts that she has kept from Ruthless's keep. This has led to her being extremely protective of the city, mainly to protect her own mercantile interests, of course, but sometimes it's nice to be nice. There was an instance where she was forced to assume her dragon form while in public, just to protect the city. This resulted in her gaining the reputation among Waterdeep citizens as the Steel Dragon Guardian of Waterdeep. Couple this with her efforts to fund part of the restoration of Waterdeep after the spell plague of 1385 DR, Jalanvaloss has clearly made Waterdeep her home. As for her being a woman about town, she is establishing her merchant and trade business, brokering deals and ensuring her competition runs afoul of the odd run of bad luck. She's said to be an enthusiastic fan of adventures, the reminder of the daring efforts of her former master, so she sponsors their expeditions in treacherous lands, caves, dungeons or otherwise. She acts as a patron for any new and promising talent. And now, this isn't entirely altruistic or entrepreneurial endeavour, as she often calls in a favour or debt to these adventuring parties to act as muscle or to further her own goals in another way. And the final thing I will mention on Waterdeep is those who are aware of her. Kelvin Blackstaff Arnston, he backed off after their first tussle, though from time to time she would tease him and annoy him when she knew distracting him wouldn't jeopardise the safety of the city. She considered him a worthy rival before he died at the cleansing of Rymanthian. Kelvin, having observed her and her deeds for a while, consulted with his partner Laeral Silverhand about what to do with her. Laeral, who you can find out more about here. Laeral, after considering Jalanvaloss's continued non-aggressive actions and the defence of the city, said that in many ways she's more Waterdavian than most Waterdavians. There wasn't a peace between them, but an unspoken truce seemed to be agreed upon. Few others know of Jalanvaloss' true identity and her actions. Only really Elminster Olmar, Kelvin Aronson, Laeral Silverhand, a number of Harpers, Volothamp Goddarm, and a select few other dragons. Just because she no longer holds the ire of Waterdeep's notable mages does not mean she hasn't accumulated a number of enemies over the centuries. Here's the most notable two in my opinion. The Rosnars, an Amnian family most famous for their ruby wine orchard, but most notoriously known to be slave traders. Centuries ago in the Rosnars were slighted by Jalanvaloss' master Rithlis. It's not known what caused the dispute, but after he perished, they were the first to appear at his keep where they encountered Jalanvaloss. Nothing's known of this interaction either, sadly, only that their enmity for one another carried on to Waterdeep, where, just off Thunderstaff Way in the Dock Ward, the Rosnar family house stands to this day. The Rosnars have made efforts to uncover Jalanvaloss' schemes, upset her business affairs, and even set fire to some of her properties. Not one to let a blow like this go unnoticed, Jalanvaloss found out that the Blue Dragon sisters Calanthrina and Dera Vararos, got that in one, were transporting precious cargo up and down the Sword Coast for the Rosnars. She attacked them and killed them both, dealing a massive blow to the Rosnars' trade connections. This may ultimately be a mistake, as the new head of House Rosnar, Lady Millel Heidcunt, just making sure that was pronounced correctly, is also a high-ranking member of the Knights of the Shield, a group known to deal in misinformation and manipulation of political figures. Her other biggest foe, the Cult of the Dragon, have all but abandoned their interest in Waterdeep. See, she killed the Black Dragon Nabalinth, who was actively recruiting them in the Rat Hills just south of Waterdeep. In my opinion, it was this event that brought her to the attention of Kelvin Aronson. Jalanvaloss is still quite active in Waterdeep, quietly manipulating trade, the successor adventuring parties, and foiling plans of those that would harm her City of Waterdeep. It's not expressly outlined in her character entries, but she does love to sow a bit of upheaval and chaos where it is deserved. All this just to make sure that Waterdeep remains as dynamic and as interesting as ever. Now folks, I love to close out my videos with interesting little tidbits that don't necessarily fit anywhere in the video, but we just like to throw them in here because they're worth mentioning anyway. Volothamp Goddarm, which some of you might know from Baldur's Gate 3, or him and Jalanvaloss, they used to date. Volo wrote a tome called the Worms of the North, and for it he needed an entry for the rare steel dragon. And so he followed whispers and rumours and was led to Waterdeep, where he encountered a dark-eyed lady. Forgotten Realms wiki leaves it to a vague end, but Ed Greenwood has confirmed that they did in fact date. She never did divulge that she was a dragon to Volo, though he did find out because he was told by one of the Chosen during the events of the Spellstorm novel. Go read it. In her Worms of the North entry, there is a typo when describing her frightful presence trait. They use the name Clogiliamator? They use the name Clogiliamator instead of Jalanvaloss, this being the true name of the feared, infamous green dragon, otherwise known as Old Gnawbone. You may have heard me say earlier that it's likely that Jalanvaloss has a challenge rating of 16 because we can't actually say for sure. Wizards of the Coast have never made a 5th edition stat block for Steel Dragon, unfortunately, so we just have to best guess. Now, we do know that Steel Dragons can breathe both a line of acid and breathe a cloud of poisonous gas. Jalanvaloss much prefers the company of humans over dragons. She doesn't act as a normal Steel Dragon would by assuming a life and living it as that persona, then vaulting the memories and then repeating that cycle. This is likely due to how she was raised by Rithlis. However, during the Rage of Dragons, she took refuge under Waterdeep's Kingkiller shield so as not to be affected by it. This did restrict her ability to hunt and feed for her true form, her true dragon mass, so she had to buy extremely large quantities of game to sustain her and some other dragons of Waterdeep. It was through these massive purchases that Millel of House Rosnar discovered some of her businesses and then proceeded to burn them down. An expert on Sword Coast dragons, Imran Veilsert, very difficult to remember that, he's known as the Sage of Baldur's Gate. He said that Jalanvaloss has, quote, shown no signs of desiring the company of other worms, nor of dwelling in solitude or defending any sort of territory. And Veilsert would know, because he's a steel dragon too. Folks, thank you for watching, and do check out other incredible creators that are putting together all videos this week for Monster Week 2025. I grabbed info from the Mighty Glue Stick himself, AJ Piggott, also from D&D's Lore You Should Know videos, and a few articles from old Dragon magazines. So, yeah, I would honestly love if Ed Greenwood did a video on Jalanvaloss to clear up some of the missing history and maybe to expand on her interesting life. I'll probably reach out to him online and see where it goes from there. Take care, folks. Have an incredible weekend, and maybe check out this video here. Or wait, no, it's going to be on the screen. But yeah, check out this video I did on Tiamat, the Dragon Queen. The Dragon Queen, if you want to check out more dragon stuff. Anyway, see you in the next video. Like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Take care.